Antonio McKee calls out Joe Rogan. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm with the iconic Antonio McKee, doing big things, taking over Bellator, training Chuck Liddell for his comeback fight. How are you doing today, Antonio?
Man, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure for me to get to entertain and express my feelings about the sport of mixed martial arts and the opinions of many people.
Well, yesterday we spoke on the phone, and one thing that really interested me was that you were upset with Joe Rogan about some stuff.
You know, I'm not really upset. It's just I think there needs to be a sit down between me and Joe Rogan. We need to sit down. He needs to bring me on the show. I'm not into the popularity piss contest. I'm not into all the social media. I just want to sit down. I mean, I think the guy's extremely intelligent, has a lot of points that I agree with, but there's a lot of things that I think we need to address that hasn't been addressed in the mixed martial art world when it comes to marijuana. And since he's so educated, and I'm educated, let's sit down, let's have a conversation about it, and let's give the fighters the truth about marijuana and the abuse and what it represents. As you know, I've been under the radar for 5, 6, 7 years. I get a lot of inbox stuff. I get a lot of people telling me what a great coach I am. Why haven't I been nominated for Coach of the Year? I'm not in it to be the Coach of the Year. I'm in it because I love what I do. I loved it as a fighter and as a fighter. I love it as a promoter that I am. I love it as a coach that I am. I love it as a manager that I am. I love it because of the sport. You know what I'm saying? And we're still in the era of being entertainment. And I've always had a strong voice about it. I've been one of the very few selected fighters that have actually spoke about it. I believe in a fighters union. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people are not aware of, and I've been asked to be quiet about a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, now my son's fighting, and it's not even about my son, it's just about the relationship that the fans have with the fighters. There's so much more missing that these fans don't even know.
So this sport obviously means a lot to you. It's your passion. This sport is your passion, and there are things that conflict, I guess, with what he's saying and your ideas and his ideas. There are certain things that are conflicting, and obviously because this is your passion, I guess it means a lot to you. You kind of want to clear the air or have a sit down with him. What are some of the things that conflict, like maybe his ideas versus your ideas on weed particularly, I guess?
Okay, you know, for example, I'm not against cannabis use. I'm not against cannabis use for medical issues. But when you have fighters that are smoking weed just to smoke weed, or smoking weed because they can't deal with their wife, their kids, or they're smoking weed because practice was tough today and their muscles are sore, there's a problem with THC. It affects the nervous system. Right. And the example that I'll give, because I don't want to throw it all away in this interview, but the example that I'll give you, you take Tyron Woodley. Now, I've trained Tyron Woodley. I know what his abilities are physically, and then what his abilities are mentally. If you put Tyron Woodley on THC, marijuana, I'm going to tell you something. He would not to this day be the UFC champ.
Wow.
Versus a Nick or Nate. Everyone always brings up the Nick and Nate Diaz. Exactly. They're great guys. I love Nick and Nate. I have nothing but respect for them. They're warriors when they get into that cage. But let me tell you something. When they're my age, and I'm almost 50 years old, and I train every day, and I'm ready to fight. In fact, I'm fighting in March 2019.
Where's that happening?
In Temecula at the Pachanga.
Okay.
Bellator, father-son.
Wow, very nice.
At 50 years old, I'm able to go in this cage, and I'm able to display physical abilities that people will say, oh, that's natural, that's genetics. But let me tell you something. There would be no way possible for me to move like the way I move right now at this age if I was smoking weed. What it does to the nervous system is not right.
Yeah.
I don't have any medical issues, so I don't need to smoke CBD. I don't have any joint pains. I'm not all jacked up. I don't do steroids. There's so much to this business, and it's so ugly. And the people know what I'm talking about.
Well, what have you seen or kind of experienced that makes you think that THC sort of compromises your movement, your nervous system, stuff like that?
You know, look, let's not study the science on this shit, okay?
Yeah.
In fact, I won't be the kettle girl and the kettle black.
Right.
I have a partnership in a dispensary.
I see.
The shit
I
is
see.
not fucking good for you if you're smoking it. Smoke is not made for the lungs.
Yeah.
Oxygen is made for the lungs. Imagine what your lungs look like inhaling smoke after smoke. And you've got guys that have been smoking for 10, 12, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Okay? There's a difference between Usain Bolt and what's the swimmer Michael Phelps. Everyone gives me these two. Everyone has these are the only two people that they can bring up.
Yeah.
Besides Nick and Nate. And I say this. Usain Bolt is the fastest motherfucker in this world, no matter who you run him against. He's fast. It doesn't matter. He's God-gifted. But I'm talking about you, your son, or people you know trying to be the next Usain Bolt. If you're not God-gifted, then you're going to have to work hard. And hard work beats talent. And talent that works hard is the best in the world.
Yeah.
And that's where you get your Michael Phelps. Now, let me explain scientifically that when you smoke weed, a lot of people don't know this about Nick and Nate, but when you smoke marijuana and you do triathlons and you press the body and you give 110%, it actually helps you out. It slows you down. It decreases the activity and the way your nervous system functions. So they're able to go longer with more endurance. But let me tell you this, when it's time to move forward, make a left, make a right, make a left, slip, cover, roll, jab, push, move, they're slower than they would be if they didn't smoke. And that's what we're talking about here.
Right. And so back to the Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps situation. Maybe they would have done even better without the weed.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Maybe
absolutely.
they would have broken more records.
Absolutely.
Is that what you're getting at too?
Well, no, the difference is when you're going in one direction,
Yeah.
okay? And this is science. This isn't just me talking out of my ass. This is science. When you're moving in one direction, there's a reason Usain Bolt only runs and set a world record at the 100-yard dash, because he is the fastest at that race. But yet, he can't be the fastest man in the 220.
Right.
I mean, in the 420 or the 440 or the
200 or the 400. Yeah,
it's just the 100-yard dash. There's a reason for that. So when you start breaking the body down, which is the way I do things, I break the science, the genetics down of the individual that I'm training. I've trained some of the best fighters in the world, and I was just a beginner at the time. But my physical abilities superseded my knowledge at that time.
Yeah. So I guess also you're talking about left turns, right turns, quick thinking, quick movement. I mean,
When
that's
the brain has to do this.
Yeah.
It's going to be slower. It's going to be more confused. God forbid you get hit. Now, all of a sudden, things are discombobulated.
Yeah.
And this is why I say, for high-level fighters, the last thing they would want to do is be high. Now, in Nick's case, it may benefit him because he's so active mentally that it actually slows him down and allows him to focus. But now that's unfair to the guy over here. But I tell you what, he'd have a problem with a guy like Tyron Woodley in a short cycle of a fight.
Right. And
He would do longer, he would do better longer than he would in a short cycle because his fast twitch muscle reflexes are shot.
Right. And guys like Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps, they're very specialized. They're not doing all the crazy stuff a fighter is during a fight, right?
Exactly. I'm focused on mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
I don't care about a basketball player, a football player, a rugby player. I'm talking about mixed martial artists that have to depend on the ability to have good IQ and sensitivity, fast twitch muscle reflexes, and also have good timing. And not only have good timing, but also have good defense in the timing. Dude, the last fucking thing you want is some fucking weed.
Yeah.
And look, we've already done the test in my gym. I've got guys that have smoked weed and come in my gym and they cannot fucking keep up. I've got guys like Nick and Nate, they could probably come in my gym and keep up, but I tell you what, they wouldn't hit nobody because my guys have great footwork. My guys have great movement. You take an Aaron Pico. I'm Aaron Pico's coach. There is no way possible for Aaron Pico to be as explosive and as powerful as he is smoking weed. Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. So you just haven't seen that. You just haven't seen a guy.
I haven't seen anybody do it. Look, let's talk about Bubba Jenkins. Bubba Jenkins, an NCAA champion, came to my gym at the time was smoking. I said, look, it's gonna take a year for me to get you back to where you were when you weren't smoking.
Wow.
He stopped smoking for 1 year. He was 3-0 with me in 1 year. Okay, coming to me, he had losses. When he got there and I got him, convinced him to stop smoking weed, he was 3-0 with great finishes. Nigga started smoking weed again and went way fucking left. Maybe he wasn't smoking, maybe he was eating, I don't know what the hell he was doing.
Yeah,
but he lost his damn mind and he left and then he went 0-3.
Yeah.
So, another factor, Emmanuel Newton. People don't like to talk about Emmanuel Newton. Emmanuel Newton was the Bellator champ who beat Mo Law. Mo Law had way higher credentials than Emmanuel Newton could ever have. But he beat Mo. And he did it while he was smoking weed. He tested dirty. Not to air his laundry out there like that, but I'm looking at what's going to be best for my fighters because all I want to do is create the best fighters in the world.
Yeah.
And look at what he did. A year later, his thought process was so left. And people say, oh no, he was on other drugs. He was doing this. No. He was smoking weed on a consistent daily basis, right? Within 1 year, he was broke. Everything gone. His reality was so disconnected from what was real versus what he was creating in his mind. And now you're talking about somebody made $500,000 is broke. Now the guy that he beat, Mo Law, has made over $500,000 since he's lost to Emmanuel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you ask yourself, like, this isn't rocket science. This is where I would like to sit with Joe
Yeah.
and bring it to his attention.
Yeah.
I have rock hard science, bro. I'm not fucking getting in vapor chains and going into other dimensions and doing all that stuff and taking EDMT, DMT,
Yeah.
whatever the hell they're on. Look, the body is designed to do something that's really amazing, and that is to survive, to live. What you put in it is what you'll get out of it. And if you put clean, good stuff, stay drug-free, and when I say drugs, anything that is not natural or man-processed like GMO,
Yeah.
that's not. It's genetically modified.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So anything that is natural, 9 times out of 10 with mount, it's good for you.
Yeah.
And these guys they're manufacturing shit in the weeds now. My friends grow. They're growers. They cross shit up and put this seed with that seed. They're making hydro shit that's got people losing their damn minds. For me, you gotta be a lunatic to smoke that shit.
So I mean, you're basically a scientist. This is your laboratory, right? And you've experimented with enough fighters.
Man, I'm a scientist in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
I don't come here to speak about drunk, cocaine, alcoholism, woman abuse. I come here to talk about being and creating the best fighters in the world. And if you look at the last 5 years, I'm creating something special. There's no social media on me. All my pages are private. I'm not into everybody look at me. But pay attention. Antonio McKee is training Chuck Liddell. Tony McKee trained Rampage. Antonio McKee's training with Tito. Tony McKee's trained with Randy Couture. Antonio McKee trained Dan Henderson. Antonio McKee has trained a lot of great fighters. Antonio McKee has still to this day, people will say, oh, he's a boring fighter. Fuck you, I'm a smart fighter, you idiots. Because at that time when I fought, there was no weight classes. It didn't matter how much you weighed. And I developed a style to take people down and control and ground them pound.
Right.
Now, to think that I haven't evolved from that, you got to be out of your mind because I'm instructing and teaching guys. And none of my guys fight like me, but they all can wrestle like me.
And you know, people celebrated the Gracies for being intelligent, just taking people down and wrapping them up and stuff like that. Why is it you think you're not getting the same kind of love?
You know what? At first I thought it was racism.
Yeah.
But then I understood the definition of racism, and they were just biased. They didn't like me. How do you not like me?
I don't know.
If you know anything about me, all I've ever done was care and give. In my gym, you can come and train. There's no contracts.
Yeah.
If you don't like what I do, leave.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy your company in the few times we've gotten to hang out. Your son is another person you're training. Incredibly impressive.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about AJ.
You know, my son is so far ahead of this game that they don't even get it. But I'm okay with that because no one ever understands greatness anyway. The process and what you have to go through as a mixed martial artist this shit is real, man. I see guys that I have trained that can't walk. They're lethargic. They're stuttering. They've had severe damage they'll never recover from. And they were the greatest thing you ever saw in that cage, in that ring. And now no one wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to those guys. And what I'd like to see is a safer sport. I'd like to see better matchups. I'd like to see fighters take this serious, because let me tell you something. You fight one of my guys out of the body shop, you better be ready to fight. And if you are doing anything other than steroids, you're going to get hurt against one of my guys. And it's that simple.
And this is all, because of the experience and the knowledge that you've been able to pour into these guys. Just for the people that don't know, I mean, what is some of the stuff that you've done in the fight game? Just for the people that don't know, because you're not really on social media that much.
I've been nothing but a winner. If you go on SureDog, you can Google my first probably 30 fights. There was 15 other fights before that never got recorded that I won. This goes all the way back to Grappler's Crest when me and, what's his name? When me and the big old guy, white guy. Anyway, I can't remember his name. We went into a triple overtime in a grappling match. I was 158 pounds.
Wow.
He was 238 pounds. This dude is a beast. And then I've trained with the Gracies. I have held my own at 160 pounds and below. I've won at 170. I've won at 185, at 210. I've been 160 pounds, 165 pounds my life. I've never once complained about he was heavy. He was too heavy. When I fought Chris Brennan, that was actually my first loss and the only time I've ever been knocked out. I was 162 pounds, Brennan was 182. I gave up 20 pounds, but it didn't matter to me because it wasn't about he's heavy, I'm light. It was about the craft of the artmanship.
Yeah.
The art, you know what I mean? The art of mixed martial arts. And so I had a great time, but after that I made some adjustments because I was self-trained out of my garage. And I went on a 7-8 year win streak. I went to the UFC. I had a great fight with Volkman. I won the fight. Everyone knows it. Everyone saw it, said you won the fight. But I had some issues.
Yeah.
Little Joe Silva was hanging on to Dana White's nuts, and he was antagonizing me in conversation, really picking at me. And I'm like, I'm cutting weight. I didn't understand why he was coming off to me like that. And I might have said something that was rude or disrespectful. But you got to remember something. I'm from the streets. I'm educated, but I'm from the streets. So when you say the things that this man was saying to me, I didn't quite understand his demeanor and what he actually meant by what he was saying.
Right.
And so I took that personal. I took that as an attack. Hold on, sorry about that. I took that as an attack on my character.
Yeah.
And when you do that, I'm going to do what an alpha does. I'm going to defend my principle, my rights. And so I stood up to him, and that didn't rub off too well.
Yeah.
But I was great. Nothing with the UFC. The UFC's, they're the shit. I give them the credit when credit is due.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean the people that are driving your ship aren't assholes.
Right.
And everybody that's been there has said what they felt about it, has said that they had to kiss Joe Silva's ass. Well, I'm a grown-ass man, 40 years old. I ain't kissing no man's ass. I'll give respect when respect's due.
Gotcha.
I'm going to tell it like it is. I'm not going to lie to you or fabricate it. If you can't handle the truth, then don't talk to me. Because I'm not here to entertain or please you. I'm here for business.
Yeah. Well, Antonio, I really, really appreciate your time. Let's see if maybe we can get Joe Rogan to bite on this, maybe get you on that show. And we'll be catching up with you soon.
Man, look, you need to go interview Joe Rogan. You know what? Joe Rogan, hey, I want you to watch this. Antonio McKee had some very interesting things. He didn't go into scientific detail, but he does have 25 years of mixed martial art experience. And he's trained guys that come off the street and that's all they do is smoke weed. And so I've seen the guys that are successful that became world-class champions. And I've seen guys that were successful and became champs.
Thank you so much, Antonio.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, man.
Peace.
Hey, knuckleheads, be sure to smash that like button, comment, and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to continue to support Fighters Rep.